Warrant Finance Committee meeting with the school committee of March 14th, 2001 is opened. The first order of business is roll call. We do have 4 members to make our quorum. Second order of business is approval of agenda. Are there any additions to our agenda, gentlemen?
Nope. That's good to go.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, third order of business is approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, one from August 9th. I'd like to discuss that one first, if we need to. This was essentially, as I recall, our first meeting, Warrant and Finance Committee this year, August 9th, 2010. I was under the impression, up until very recently, that this had been approved previously, but it had not, so we might as well keep it from being a draft forever. There are only 2 members that are here tonight, Andy and myself, who were there at that meeting. Normally, we would have just the members who were present at that meeting to vote. My understanding from speaking with Larissa, because it apparently happened at the Board of Selectmen meeting earlier this year, where they were approving a set of minutes from the end of the previous season, that they were voting to not specifically aver that whatever was stated there is something that they personally witnessed, but they were stating that some degree of confidence, shall we say, in the secretarial powers that produced it. So, in the absence of direct evidence, that's what we're going to go with. So, having said that, I assume you've had a chance to take a quick look at this.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 9th, 2010 meeting.
Once you second them while you were there. Once you second them since you were there, and then we'll vote.
I will second that.
All right.
It looks good to me.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion?
Because we weren't there.
All in favor of approval of those minutes? 4 in favor. Okay, next one is, or the last one in fact, is February 7th. This was our last Warrant and Finance meeting, standalone meeting. This one, we had Jim Driscoll and Paul Poynt were the only ones that are here now that were there then.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes of February 7th.
And I second that. That looks reasonable to me. And is there any further discussion or any discussion at all about these minutes? All in favor? Okay, those approved. Thank you very much. Okay, on to the business at hand. Okay. We have nothing under unfinished business. Under new business, we have opening remarks. To avoid missing something important or misstating something equally important, I've prepared a mercifully short set of opening remarks, generally to inform the public and to kind of set the stage for what we're going to be doing here tonight. The primary purpose of this joint meeting of the Warrant and Finance Committee and School Committee is to make recommendation regarding the school warrant articles for school budget year 2011-2012. These articles originated with the school committee as a set of proposed budget figures that were discussed in detail at school committee meetings on February 14th and March 2nd. This warrant was then formulated and accepted at the last regular school committee meeting on March 8th. All of these meetings had a quorum of Warrant and Finance Committee members present, and all were open to the public, with provision given to accommodate any comments, questions, or concerns offered. Those meetings were the proper time to present budgetary input to both the school committee and the Warrant and Finance Committee. At today's meeting, the Warrant and Finance Committee will for the first time be discussing these articles among ourselves, resolving any remaining questions with the assistance of the school committee, which is also in attendance, and then voting our recommendations, which will be duly recorded and placed on the school warrant for town meeting on Tuesday, April 5th. In order to most efficiently proceed with this task, I ask that any public comment be reserved until after the votes have been registered. I would like to thank the school committee, the selectmen, and my Warrant and Finance Committee colleagues for their common professional conduct this budget season, helping to move it forward as well as it can. Are there any additional comments from either the school committee, the selectmen, or the Warrant and Finance Committee? Hearing none. Is there agreement of the general public regarding saving public comment until the end of the meeting? And we have 3 members, or 2 members, or 2.5 members of the general public here tonight.
You must be the half.
And hearing no objection, this could have been anywhere from a roomful to a few. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item 2 of new business, we have the school warrant discussion and recommendation. So we're sidetracking off to our warrant. What I would like to do here, I think it would make the most sense to more or less emulate what occurs at town meeting. I'll read the warrant largely for the benefit of the home audience. We will essentially go to, and I'll read each article, and at the end of the reading of the article, I'll entertain a motion, and we'll go from there. Town of Acton, Maine, warrant to Robert Anderson, a constable in the town of Acton, York, SS. Greetings. In the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby requested to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town of Acton, qualified to vote in town affairs, to assemble at the Acton Elementary School on April 5th, 2011, at 6 o'clock in the evening, to act on the following Acton School warrant articles, to wit. Article 1, to choose a moderator for said meeting, which we will not be acting upon tonight. Articles 2 through 12, authorize expenditures in cost center categories. Article 2, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for regular instruction. School committee recommends $2,629,245. And if I misread any of these millions figures, kindly point that out to me. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article number 2 in the amount of $2,629,245.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to recommend for Article 2, and correct me if I misstate, to recommend for Article 2 the amount of $2,629,000, $629,245
That's correct.
for Article 2. Is there any discussion? I want to point out to those at home that, as stated previously, these numbers are essentially a product of discussions we've had at our mutual satisfaction, or to our mutual satisfaction. The only thing that's happened since then is that the numbers have been aggregated from the individual articles, from the individual accounts that we were discussing at the time. I have, to my satisfaction, proved and we do have a worksheet here from the last time we met, proved to my satisfaction that the numbers on this warrant match the aggregate of the accounts that underlie this particular warrant article. So that, by way of explanation of the lack of discussion for this article. So we have a motion on the table, we have no second, we have no discussion.
Well, I think all the discussion happened at all the open meetings and public forum. We
Agreed.
pretty much hammered this budget into the ground, and like you said, that's where it all happened. And
Are we ready to vote? All in favor? We have a unanimous recommendation. Article 3, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for special education. School committee recommends $941,340. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 3 in the amount of $941,340.
Second.
Warrant, okay, the Warrant and Finance Committee recommends, has moved that the recommendation be $941,340. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? This and most of these articles, until we get to Article 13, is the same situation. We've discussed this somewhat to death. Are we ready to vote?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor of the motion? We have a unanimous vote on Article 3. Article 4, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for career and technical education. School committee recommends 0. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 4 in the amount of $0.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $0 for Article 4. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Article 5. To see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for other instruction. School committee recommends $27,664. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 5 in the amount of $27,664.
Second?
The Warrant and Finance Committee has moved the recommendation of $27,664. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Article 6, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for student staff support. The school committee recommends $254,633. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 6 in the amount of $254,633.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to recommend for Article 6 the amount of $254,633. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor? Article 8, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for
7.
school,
Seven.
excuse me,
Skip
That's
seven.
okay.
skip 7. We didn't need that one, did we? Article 7, incidentally, Article 6 was unanimous. Article 7, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for system administration. School committee recommends $197,782. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 7 in the amount of $197,782.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $197,782. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? Article 8, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for school administration. School committee recommends $148,846. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 8 in the amount of $148,846.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $148,846. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? Article 9, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for transportation and buses. School committee recommends $240,983. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 9 in the amount of $240,983.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $240,983. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Article 10, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for facilities maintenance. And for the record, I believe that you'll be abstaining from this one, Andy?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, school committee recommends $404,126. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 10 in the amount of $404,126.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $404,126. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, we have 1 abstention, 3 in favor. Article 11, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for debt service and other commitments. School committee recommends $0. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 11 in the amount of $0.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $0. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Article 12, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for other expenditures. School committee recommends $126,457. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 12 in the amount of $126,457.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $126,457. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, Articles 13 and 14 raise funds for the proposed school budget. Article 13, to see what sum the municipality will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. $3,792,770. And to see what sum the municipality will raise as the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15688. The school committee recommends $3,608,618. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends. Now, on this one, I'd like to get a little bit of discussion after our motion, so let's move on with the motion.
I will make a motion to approve Article 13 in the amount of $3,608,618.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to recommend $3,608,618. On to discussion. I wanted to discuss briefly where this number comes from. Having gone over what the article says and the explanation, I find that it is reasonably clear. And looking at the EPS numbers up on the website, and I had tonight a set of spreadsheets from that website, but unfortunately, I managed to get the wrong pages that do not include Acton, but I have the numbers from them. So I apologize for the miscue there. We have an EPS, a couple of EPS figures. One of them says EPS, which is the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, EPS at 97%. And there's a number there for Acton, comes from the main website. It's $3,792,770.10. We also have a number that's the adjusted local share from that same website, which is $3,608,618.61. And we have the state share, which is also turns into the general purpose aid, of $184,151.29. So that middle number, basically the first number minus the second number equals the third number, and that second number, straight from that website, is the $3,608,618. So there's really no development of that figure from our perspective. We're just grabbing it off the website. Is that a reasonable statement?
Yes.
It's the expected GPA.
That's it.
Expected
Okay, so we're-
GPA, doesn't mean we'll get it.
In order to get that amount of money, you have to, in order to get the $184,151, you must raise $3,608,618.
And given our budget of $4.9 million, I think we're pretty safe on that.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, that is what I kind of wanted to get on the table here. We ready to vote? All in favor of the motion? Unanimous? Moving on to Article 14. This one will require a written ballot, done at town meeting. Article 14, to see what sum the municipality will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, recommend $1,178,306 that exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by recommend $1,090,384 as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee. The school committee recommends $1,178,306 for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $1,090,384. The essential programs and services allocation model does not fully support all the costs of a K-12 program. These funds support programming not included in the essential programs and services model. This one is a little bit more, I'll say, interesting. It's more difficult to understand, at least from my perspective. The two numbers in question, the first one, which is the $1,178,306 in additional local funds, that actually comes from the gross budget, which we will be voting on. It's the aggregate of all of the articles that we've been voting on. It will be coming up in the next article. The gross budget of $4,971,076 is currently formulated, minus the EPS at 97% figure of $3,792,770.10. Subtract that out and you get $1,178,306, roughly. We're dropping the cents figures. The second number is $1,090,384, and that is the computation of the same gross budget figure that the other one started with, and this time subtracting out the EPS 100% figure of $3,880,692.01. Again, this comes from the State of Maine website, and you yield $1,090,384. Beyond that, I do not know. And I have the distinct impression that very few do. Okay, so my question to you is, okay, so we know where these figures come from. Are we actually doing a recommendation on both of these numbers or just one of these numbers? Because I have seen it two different ways in past warrants.
You're doing a recommendation on the amount, $1,178,306. The second number must be reflected so that people voting on the budget know that we're exceeding the essential programs and services amount by $1,090,384. That's the transparency.
Right.
The cost of educating students for Acton Elementary School and secondary school students is the $4,971,076.
Right, the gross budget.
The gross budget.
All right.
This is merely, they ask you, And initially, when they first started out, you had to include it on the referendum ballot. The fact that it exceeded the state EPS formula.
Right, and it does state that,
Yeah.
and it states by how much.
Right, it doesn't say how much, but
Well, there's,
the article shows it,
this does.
We're recommending on the additional funds that the school committee,
yes. $1,178,300.
But in actuality, the taxable amount is that amount that we're talking about here, plus some portion of the amount below the EPS that is not funded by additional funds that we'll be examining in Article 18.
Yeah.
So-
You're being asked to approve a budget for $4,971.
Right, so we're basically doing that 3 times.
Right, right.
Okay, thank you. So, for clarity though, we're approving one number here or 2? Just the one,
Just the one,
170,
the
360?
addition.
We're putting 2, so that
366.
people will have an opportunity to see how much we exceed
Okay.
the recommended.
So we are making motions on both of these numbers.
no, we're just making a motion on the
That's what
addition.
Just the
that's what I'm
first-
asking
Just the
about.
first one, the second
Just the
number.
first one, okay. 1,178,306 for the additional local funds.
Right, excuse me?
For the additional local funds we're talking about.
Right.
Thank you.
Normally, we don't put the recommendation of the warrant committee.
Where it's
on
a
the
secret written
referendum
right,
question.
right.
Okay, but are we?
But you can
There's
do
no
whatever,
school
we'll
committee
make it, and you
recommendation
can, like Lorraine says, normally it doesn't go, but.
I stand corrected, thank you. There is no recommendation, so that's pointless. Okay,
Not
We
for the
can-
second number,
for the because the
Because the second
school
number's a-
committee does recommend this.
right. It's
Okay.
it's a formula that we put the numbers into, it spits it out.
Okay, so even though it doesn't say school committee recommends, that is in fact,
It
It
school
does say
committee
that right here.
recommends.
Say
School
that.
committee recommends 1,178,306 for additional local funds.
Second paragraph.
That's our motion.
That's the motion.
That's,
Okay, gotcha.
and
Okay.
then whether, the selectmen can do whatever they want with it as far as,
So
that's up to them.
we're not retracing this entire paragraph, we are simply recapping this
The
first number,
additional, the additional local funds.
additional local funds. One number,
Yeah.
yes? Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve Article 14 in the amount of 1,178,306.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded for the Warrant and Finance Committee to recommend $1,178,306 in additional local funds. Is there any further discussion? And it occurs to me that I had some discussion going on here before the motion, and I apologize for the irregularity.
That's no problem.
Okay,
It's just confusing.
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I was
all right.
pre-confused by this article, I
Yeah.
must admit. Okay, I will accept votes. All in favor? Unanimous. We'll move on. Article 15 summarizes the proposed school budget. This, again, ties into the gross number. Article 15, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2011 and ending June 30, 2012, from the school department's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. The school committee recommends $4,971,076. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to approve Article 15 in the amount of $4,971.76. Is that correct?
No,
No, $76, I'm sorry.
971,000.
Yeah,
76.
76.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded for the Warrant and Finance Committee to recommend $4,971,076 for Article 15. Is there any discussion? I will state for this one that, as alluded to in the earlier discussions, this $4,971,076 is an aggregate of all the accounts that we have discussed over the last several meetings. And it does represent a 0.8% decrease from last year's gross figure of $5,013,260. Is there any further discussion?
Sure.
All in favor? Unanimous. Articles 16 through 18 authorize expenditure of grants and other receipts. Article 16, shall the school committee be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, provided that such grants, programs, and other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. School committee recommends adoption of the article. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion, adoption of Article 16 as written.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt Article 16 as written. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Article 17, to see if the town will appropriate the receipt of certain federal and state grants and carry any previous balances for the following special revenue accounts. Title 1A, Title 2A, Local Entitlement, Preschool, Title 2D, I believe. School Committee recommends adoption of the article. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to adopt Article 17 as written.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt Article 17 as written. Is there any discussion? When I was checking this one against last year's warrant, there was one item that was missing, and I think, but I couldn't be positive, that we had discussed it at one of our previous meetings, the Article 4, the 1B4.
Title IV, which is a drug and free alcohol, drug and free money that the federal government has provided, very small amount, that's no longer in existence.
Okay, so it does not apply this year.
Doesn't apply.
Okay, so everything else there is asserted to be valid. Okay, I'm good with discussion. Ready to vote? All in favor? Unanimous. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the following revenues, balances carried, and fund transfers to cover the expenditures appropriated in the previous articles, remaining funding required to be raised by taxation. School undesignated fund balance, 0. School nutrition revenues, $65,000. General purpose aid, estimated, $184,151. Edu Jobs Fund, $53,470. State Agency, 0. Medicaid, 0. Total, $362,621. So it's three.
Wait a minute, 302?
Excuse me.
Is that
302621.
Yes, indeed. $302,621. Second time is the charm. Is there any discussion on this article? I'm just doing a quick, and I somehow managed not to prove the math on this last time around. No? Yeah, I'm good.
good, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I have no further discussion on this one.
You want a motion?
I would like a motion. Oh, excuse me. Did I not even entertain a motion on this? I did not. Sorry about that again. School committee recommends adoption of the article. And Warrant and Finance Committee recommends.
I will make a motion to adopt Article 18 as written.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt Article 18 as written and has been discussed. All those in favor? Unanimous. Article 19. Okay, that's the end of the school warrant.
For your information, and I apologize that we're a little bit behind the eight ball, but Ted and I have had conversations about two items that we're requesting warrant articles for. One being the roof replacement for a portion of the gym area and the intercom communication system that's been outdated we would like to replace. Both of those items are about $25,000 each. Our intent was to put it in as a warrant article or warrant articles in the town, at the town meeting. We've both communicated with attorneys, with the various professional organizations representing towns and schools, and there's been a mixed bag of messages. You can do it under the town, but our attorneys have said that might not be the best way to approach it. People would see that you were trying to circumvent the system. It's pretty clear, we've put it out in the open. I hope that we're not accused of circumventing it. They said a better route may be to put those warrant articles within the school portion as additional add-ons. And then if the articles are successful, then they get added into, because they're both facilities maintenance, both would be added into that cost center that would be reported to the state. I'm waiting for them to write those articles to show us what they'll look like. Ted and the town side has indicated that they could do it either way. So we may be coming back to you before next week to talk a little bit more about those two articles.
So, I applaud at least the discussion of those 2 points, which meeting it's going to be had on, because I certainly have heard some of those discussions in either direction. What is and I'm assuming, given that we don't actually have the article sitting in front of us, that it would be premature to
Basically,
even
would
think
just
about
say,
doing
this is
anything
an additional
tonight
amount that
with
would be above and beyond the school's regular operational budget.
Okay, so this is a notification that will be coming up fairly soon, but we will not be acting on any of that stuff tonight.
So what you're talking about, it's basically with the school attorneys, it's basically perception that they might think you're doing something, it's not. Do you have anything
not-
from the town side as far as any legal?
Well, legally, we can do it, but if we do it the way that Bumpus heard from his attorneys, what happens is you get two more articles after Article 18. And then the town says, yes, we want to fix the roof, or no, we don't want to fix the roof. Yes, we want to put in the new communication, or no, we don't. But it doesn't affect the operating budget at all. If they say yes to both, it then goes into the maintenance budget afterwards. But it doesn't make them cut money from the operating budget that you just approved. So we could do it at the school meeting that way, or we do it at the town meeting, and we still have to put it into the operating budget afterwards. So it doesn't really matter which meeting we do it at.
No, I mean, it's all taxpayer money.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
really, I mean, what is,
Is it on the referendum with the school budget when they vote in,
Yes, it is. It would be part of the entirety, so when it's voted at referendum for the validation budget, it could, if that's the only thing holding somebody back from passing the validation budget, they don't want the new intercom system or the roof repaired.
that's,
It wouldn't.
Yeah, so it'll be your operating budget, which is this figure here that they just voted on, and then there'll be two more
I
referendum
know.
questions afterwards.
but that would
However,
be,
on I believe the way the law is written, that the referendum ballot itself for the validation is only a figure and a yes and a no, correct?
No figure. It's
Just a yes or a no.
A yes or no. Do you
So,
approve?
you can't add those articles onto the referendum, if that's what you're saying.
Well,
The
that's what I'm
refer-
You could add them to the referendum process as another question, I presume, right?
I'm talking about when they
You can only
vote.
have-
Really?
You can only have one
According
question.
to the, that's why I need to see it, because I haven't,
So where would
Even
they,
seen
would
a
they
sample.
be, they'd be part of the,
It'd be part of the operating budget, it'd be the total operating budget.
It'll be part of what was
Although, on the
approved.
referendum, it doesn't give a specific amount, it just says you accept,
right, here's some,
the. school
Right, but it has to be standalone for that particular gathering from 8 AM to 8 PM, that one question. There cannot be anything
That's
else
right,
on there.
yes or
It's
no.
just the one question, but those two articles would be
Yes or no?
added into the total operating budget is what I'm getting at. Yeah, because that,
You're saying if they approve the referendum for, and these two articles haven't even been, okay,
no, if
okay, I'm getting ahead
they're,
of myself.
if
So
they're-
you're saying that we're gonna be talking about two articles, say next week.
Yeah.
They will go into the school warrant,
on this warrant here.
okay? So there'll be two additional articles on this
Right.
referendum,
Yeah.
and then the one question afterward will say, the whole thing sinks or
Yeah,
swims.
that's right.
But they will get to vote on them at town meeting.
At town meeting
At the
individually.
school town meeting.
Right.
I know, but that.
Yeah, but
So there's
That's-
multiple
So-
opportunities to lose them. and-
That's right.
and-
Yeah.
I mean, if it's, what does the town lawyer say? Is it legal?
It is legal to put it on the town floor.
So, when they do the books at the end of the year, when Smith does the books, this building and the land are deeded in the town's name. It's not in the school. It's considered a fixed asset in the books to the town when they do the books. We're not a SAD, there's not several other schools or districts combined, we're one school unit. These are capital, I mean, you're talking about the roof of a town building, and you're talking about fixed hard wiring inside a building. I mean, it's two warrant articles, I don't know why they shouldn't stand on their own on town floor.
Yeah,
It's different than RSU 57 or SAD 60, where there's several different towns.
I see it as
If
a
it's-
capital expenditure of a maintenance function.
And
It's
if
not a
it's-
capital improvement,
right.
but it's a
Right.
capital expenditure certainly.
Right.
So, I
And why
defer to those who are more in the know about where it belongs, but clearly there are dissenting opinions.
If it is legal, it just makes common sense to, I don't understand.
It is legal.
right, and
Well,
we've
why-
done it
It's-
before with other articles, we've asked for other things.
Either way, I mean, it's a
It's a
taxpayer's.
state of
thing.
Maine
With the generator last year.
accounting
Yeah,
system
exactly.
for education.
What's the difference within this here and the generator they put in last year? That was a town warrant, wasn't it?
That's right.
Absolutely.
It
Exactly.
needs
So, I
to be
mean-
there.
Just do it. It's legal. It's the right thing to do. It's, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why confuse?
My concern is if you get a few people that don't feel that the intercom system is necessary to update, or
Stockton.
the roof, they would vote against it on the ballot, and some of them votes were pretty darn close, so I think we leave it out on town floor where it's open to the public at the time.
And even if they both
Discussion,
pass,
more
it's all
discussion.
taxpayer money.
Right.
I mean, it's
It's-
just,
it's-
if it's legal to do,
It's
I
coming
mean.
from the same pot, basically, and going to town property, and I think it's more transparent having it on town.
It'd be one thing if the school building wasn't deeded in the town's name, but it is.
And the thi-
It shows up in the town books as a fixed asset. It's a town building. They're
And-
both, you're talking about a roof and hardwired PA system. Let these two items be argued individually on town floor. I mean,
I
it's,
think initially, one of the reasons that we talked about doing it this way is because we thought the regular town meeting does have more people, and that more people in attendance would understand what we were doing, whereas in the past 2 or 3 years, the school town meeting, the school budget meeting has been pretty poorly attended, because people just wait to vote on the referendum. They don't really come to see what the figures represent. And so I think one of our initial thoughts was, in putting that in there, is let the townspeople see that this is what we're asking for, so that more people understand where this $50,000 is gonna be going. Because the school hasn't had, since 2007, hasn't had any capital improvement funds at all. And the gym roof is something that's, it's gonna have to be done. It isn't gonna be something, we can do it now before it leaks and spoils the gym floor, or we can wait and put it off and have additional expenditures. And the intercom system has really become, in these days, particularly, it's a safety issue because many of the classrooms now do not have contact outside their room because the system is very old and antiquated and to the point where you can't really get the parts that you need to fix up what we already have. So it needs to be replaced. So I think the idea really initially from the school committee's perspective was transparency, to let the townspeople know, more of the townspeople understand what it was that we were asking for and why.
And also, Judy, to follow up on your point, I think a good reason to put it on town floor, there's gonna be some other warrant articles on town floor that are substantial, aren't there, over and
Yeah.
above? And
Yes.
Yeah,
and you-
we have requests from the fire department, of course, for another 50,000 for the fire truck. We have a request from each of the road commissioners for $100,000 in paving.
So,
The fire department is also talking about, they haven't done it yet, putting forward an article to pay stipends to have somebody on call 24 hours a day. The stipends are minimal, but when you add it up over 365 days for 4 people, two 12-hour shifts, it's gonna be about $40,000.
yeah, but all these
So
articles.
this way, if they're all on the town floor, then everybody can decide
Pick
which
and
way they
choose.
want to spend the money. Do we
Yeah,
want to fix
what's-
the roof or not fix the roof?
what's the
Do we
most
want to pay the fire
important?
department or not pay the fire department? If they vote these 2 articles in April, they won't, the other warrant isn't out yet, so they don't see all these other things that are going to come to the town floor. These are over and above operating budgets, just like this is.
And it's more discussion. It's
Yeah.
gonna, people who understand about the PA system or understand about the roof, there's gonna be discussion. People will actually know what they're voting on. You just stick it in here, it makes absolutely no sense.
One additional point is that by the time we get to the regular town meeting, we will know what the school budget is. Unless things go seriously awry in the next month and a half, we're gonna know what the school budget is, so that the town, at town floor, they can weigh that as well, with all of this stuff, and figure out what the priorities are and
How much
we can
was
afford.
the generator that was the same thing? The
50,000.
generator out here,
40,000 or 45? something like that.
45,000.
45,000, and you put that on the town warrant.
Yeah.
There's
Same.
precedent also. I mean, not only is it legal, I mean, I don't understand why you would,
Yeah, we
Just
haven't
clean
made a
up.
decision either way. We're just waiting until we see what the school, you gotta remember, the school and the town run under a different set of laws, so
no, I understand that,
Well,
but
I was
if you,
talking to his attorney.
It's legal to do what
To do the actual warrant, yes.
we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a question of.
you've already done it.
Yeah, right.
You've already done it.
It's been done before.
And by asking for other funds for other things we wanted for the school, they were an added article at town meeting floor.
Yeah.
It's not that we're doing something new.
Oh, it's been done, it's
That's right.
cleaner, there's gonna be
Yeah.
more discussion,
Right,
and there's
yeah.
other articles up against it.
Yeah.
You decide, you pick,
Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
who's gonna be making I assume the Board of Selectmen and the school board will be making those.
The Board of Selectmen's
Board of
warrant,
Selectmen.
it's the Board of Selectmen's warrant, they could make the decision
Yes,
tomorrow if they.
Well, it's the Board of Selectmen's warrant if it goes to the Board of Selectmen's warrant, but it's, I mean,
That's right.
it could go to the school board's warrant, so that they're part of that discussion.
We don't want it there.
We're
We
still,
need.
well, we're still waiting to hear back
we'll know
from
we'll
the
know
school
tomorrow
attorneys.
how
We'll have
that's
some more
gonna work.
information from them tomorrow as to what would be in
I
our,
want to hear from
the
them.
best way to do
Okay, so
it.
you have some thoughts to throw into the pot. There will be some official decisions coming down the pike, and we'll hear about that. And
And we have
Thank
plenty,
you.
we have plenty of time to get it to you guys to vote to get it on the April meeting, because we don't sign the warrant until a week from Thursday, so.
we're having meetings every other day, so we should be in good shape.
Should make it, huh?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have in front of us Article 19, which is a Warrant and Finance Committee ordinance. Well, I guess I'll wait to get to the discussion portion before I say anything extraneous. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to adopt an ordinance to amend Acton's existing Warrant and Finance Committee ordinance, as printed below. The title being, an ordinance to amend Acton's existing Warrant and Finance Committee ordinance. The town of Acton hereby ordains and enacts an ordinance to amend Acton's existing Warrant and Finance Committee ordinance by repealing the existing ordinance in its entirety and substituting the following in its place.
Waive the reading.
We want to waive the reading. Do we want to waive the reading for our folks at home, or
It's on the webpage.
it is on the webpage?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So go to actonmaine.org and you should be able to see this ordinance,
I'll
or
second
this
that.
draft ordinance. It has been moved and seconded to waive the reading, so we will do so.
I will make a motion,
And, go ahead, thank you.
I will make a motion to adopt the ordinance as written.
I'll second it.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the ordinance as written. We move on to discussion. Okay, little background here. This ordinance originated in the fall, around September timeframe, when, with the Warrant and Finance Committee. I was new to the committee and was looking to find some guidance as to what we could do and what we couldn't do. Come to find out, there was an ordinance on the books from 1987. Actually, there was one from even earlier, but the one from 1987 trumps it. And I found it to be somewhat self-conflicting, uninformative, unhelpful, you name it. So it was deemed a good idea at the time for the Warrant and Finance Committee to come up with, during our fall slow season, to come up with an ordinance to replace the existing ordinance that would give us some direction so that we'd all be on the same page about what the Warrant and Finance Committee could do and what it could not do. So we proceeded through the course of a few meetings to hammer out a Warrant and Finance Committee ordinance. We started with the original ordinance. We discussed changes to that ordinance, and we arrived at, by I think mid-December, we arrived at something which went through to a legal review. So it was submitted to the selectmen for review, just to get a feel for, I believe it was the MMA?
Yeah.
To get a feel for how much red pen it was going to get when it was officially submitted. It came back with really no opinion rendered. They were looking for very specific questions about any legal questions we had. And it was never resubmitted by the Warrant and Finance Committee. What ended up happening around that time, again, around mid-December, it was through the objection of one of the Warrant and Finance Committee members that we were even working on the ordinance. And the part that was in question was a piece of the ordinance that by that time said that the Warrant and Finance Committee can provide input to warrant articles, but cannot write them. So the opinion was that given that an ordinance is effectively, for this particular purpose, like a warrant and finance, like a warrant article, then we were being somewhat hypocritical in coming up with this ordinance that states that we cannot write warrant articles. My view was, and still is, that they are different things. Basically, an ordinance is a warrant article with lovely little Christmas wrapping around it. So they're not the same thing, but given that some percentage of the town body would feel the same way, and I really wanted this thing to go through because we needed it for a number of very good and valid reasons, which are even more good and valid now, the vote was taken at the time for the Warrant and Finance Committee to stop work on this, and I took it upon myself as a citizen of the town to move it forward and kind of propose it to the selectmen and get it moving
When was that
and get it
vote
onto the
taken?
warrant.
I wasn't aware of that, but it was.
It was mid-December, thereabouts. I can, if anybody's interested in the specifics, and actually, it might even be at the one we, hold on. No, this one was very recent, the one we just voted in.
Yeah, I don't believe it was
No,
in that one, Paul.
No, it was, the last draft that I have, that I've worked, that I submitted to the selectmen is dated January 6th or 7th. So it was mid-December, I believe. I can dig that up for, and I will, at our next Warrant and Finance Committee meeting, I will have the date and I will have the minutes. You already have the minutes up on the actonmaine.org. Feel free to go out there and look them up around mid-December, but I will make a statement as to exactly which meeting that decision was made at our next meeting. Anyway, so I moved forward with it. It had a few changes moving forward with further decisions. From that point on, it did not involve the Warrant and Finance Committee at all. It did involve a couple of discussions with the Board of Selectmen. About 2-3 weeks ago, the Board of Selectmen officially kind of took the reins on that, and I was divorced from the process. So what is currently in front of us is basically third-generation Warrant and Finance Committee articles. Started with the committee, went to me, and now it is with the Board of Selectmen, what we see in front of us. And there were several key elements that we wanted to retain and that have been retained here. One of them is the ability to have 2 additional members elected on town floor. So in addition to our 6 standing members, which has traditionally been the Warrant and Finance Committee, for 2-year terms, what we're adding with this new with this new ordinance is 2 additional members, which are called alternate members. And those alternate members only have voting power from meeting to meeting if we cannot field a full 6
Quorum.
Well, quorum is 4, and it remains 4. There's a few key things we're not changing. Quorum remains 4. The number of standing members is 6. If any of those 6 cannot attend a meeting, and so this is meeting by meeting, then one or both of the alternate members will vote at that meeting. So in other words, the intent is to have up to 6 voters representing the 6 standing members or their proxies at any given meeting. So minimum of 4, maximum of 6 per meeting. So that will accommodate if, temporary illness or indisposed or what have you. It will accommodate out and out not showing up at meetings, which has been happening this year. We have 1 member who has not attended, has not communicated with me at all, and has not attended any meetings whatsoever, leaving us with 5 members. We have 1 meeting who is presently has stated that he will not attend any further meetings of this committee. So we are now down, what you see in front of you is our full active Warrant and Finance Committee. So we hope among ourselves that we stay healthy for the remainder of the budget season, or we will not be doing business. One of the key purposes of this ordinance is to prevent this kind of thing from happening. So we have additional resources that are built in, that are voted into the committee on town, by the town body, and only have voting rights as they are needed. They will all 8 members, right? All 8 members will participate, will attend meetings, will participate in discussions, will be up to speed, ideally, on Warrant and Finance Committee matters, so that if in fact somebody has to come up to bat for a standing member, they will have participated, they will be up on the issues, and they will be able to provide a valid vote for that particular meeting. So that is one very key element that is retained here. Let's see, what was the other, there was 1 or 2 other things here. Yes, there's an official provision for the Board of Selectmen to appoint a member to the committee. Right now, we've been doing some pretty serious appointing to the committee, but yet there is no official ordinance that says that this can happen. There's nothing that says it can't happen, but there's nothing that says it can happen. It's not part of the Warrant and Finance Committee ordinance. It will now be part of the ordinance. And what it says is that, and actually we'll be talking about it. Will we be talking about it?
So what are they right now?
We may not talk about it.
Is it the guidelines right now under home rule, state law? Is that why in replacing if it's not written in the ordinance already?
I don't know the guidelines under
So
which we are doing the
That's why we're
appointing at this
filling
time.
It's in place,
Yeah,
actually.
it's in place, but we're just changing it, that their term, say, like you 2 folks that got appointed this year, you would not be finishing out the term like you are now. You'd only go till the next election. So that's the difference. And then the selectmen will only appoint if we're getting down to a problem. I mean, if we got 8 and we got 2 people that showed up, you still got 6, so we're not gonna appoint the, 2 alternates. So it'll change it around a little bit. But the thing to keep in mind is this final draft has been approved by our attorney. She went through it completely, so this is completely legal. Everything's all set for it to go to town meeting.
I guess I noticed at the very end, it says the school committee makes no recommendation on this.
I saw that too, yeah.
That's
It
not
might be
the
to your
school committee
benefit.
bullying.
The chair doesn't miss anything.
I saw it, I was gonna say, well, there's no money there.
Sorry.
No money.
I don't know, what do they want our opinion?
Well, it's not
I
a
noticed
school
that.
committee.
I know.
Theirs.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. The reason we're trying to do it on the school committee meeting instead of the regular town meeting is if we get it passed at the school committee meeting, we can vote for 8 people on the town floor in June.
Right.
As opposed to waiting a 30-day
whole
or
nother
60-day
year,
or
yeah,
90-day
whole
or
nother-
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Timeline issue.
Okay, and the intent is, now it does say, effective date, this ordinance shall take effect upon enactment by the town meeting. Now, that means that there's no waiting period, but my understanding based on my previously and what I think I just heard is that even though we could act potentially immediately, we're not planning on doing anything with this ordinance at the school meeting. We're waiting till the June meeting to do that, to do everything all at once. Is that a correct statement?
Well, they're gonna vote yes or no for the ordinance.
Right.
At that meeting.
Yes.
Then that meeting closes, so we can't go and vote for people for Warrant and Finance until June.
Okay. And this is going to be on the floor, or is it's going to be a
It won't be a
ballot?
referendum, it'll just be voted on by the people at the
Okay.
floor. Because it's not part of the school budget, so
Thank you.
whatever the yay or nay on the school meeting floor will.
Okay.
determine whether it's or not.
I am, per majority vote here, I'm not reading this whole thing, but I would like to point out a couple of elements, since this is really gonna be our only opportunity to officially discuss this before we put it in. When it started out, it was intended to be, and this is based on discussions with, and this was in fall, mid-August or thereabouts, discussion with the Board of Selectmen, and it included some past heads of the Warrant and Finance Committee, and there was a discussion or an understanding at the time that the Warrant and Finance Committee has an advice capacity and a consent capacity, and that consent capacity has to do with articles that are written to say requiring the consent of the Warrant and Finance Committee, and we see those every once in a while. It is now apparent through legal review that the consent portion is illegal. We only have an advice capacity, and so this ordinance specifies that that advice capacity. And also, no future warrant articles, which are in effect for 1 year at a time, will say anything about consent, because we can't do that. We can do advice. So basically, this points out that it's advisory only. I want to also point out, sort of as an aside, that there's half a dozen sections of this article that I think need to be changed before it hits town floor. What I've just discussed with Ted is that we'll be going through and making a couple, or at least I'll be presenting those changes to them tomorrow, but that can happen after we substantially approve it, and I will point out the things that I would like to discuss with them that we change. And if there's any objection to that,
I don't think you can do that.
No. If you're gonna change it
No.
tomorrow.
okay, then I can't change it unless you want to change it, and you don't want to change it.
It's already
you don't
been
have a
read
quorum.
over by
We're
the
happy,
attorney.
yeah, we're happy with it the way it is. He has changes that he wants to
You can't take the
make.
vote and then go.
Well, then I will simply point out that item 2F, as stated right now, says that the chairman and vice chairman shall preside at all meetings, which means that if either of us is indisposed or not at the meeting, we cannot do business. It doesn't say or, it says and. So it is flawed. So we can vote it in as better than nothing. We can hope we stay
Yeah,
healthy. We can
each-
hope to change it whenever we can.
You can vote it in with the change?
What is it, what do you want to change it to, Paul?
Or-
Well,
F.
that one, F, should say the chairman
And
or
or
vice chairman shall preside at all meetings.
And or.
I have some other
And
quibbles, but they're
just
not
add the
quite as
word
major.
or and
No,
after.
well, replace and with or.
Just replace, yeah.
But you both can talk, but and or, right?
And you wanna put and/or.
No?
Yeah.
Not and, we don't
We want
want,
just
we
or.
don't,
Just or, you don't want
Or.
both people to have to be
Either
there.
one.
we have one person presiding at
Or.
meetings at any given time,
Okay,
Okay.
okay?
that's good, yeah.
So, right in here you're talking about, we're gonna,
F, yeah.
yeah,
F,
why is mine different than
Or.
yours?
Well, there's just,
Several spots it's gotta be done, right?
well, no, it
No.
says
No.
the committee shall be
chairman
elected
and
from
vice
the
chairman
ranks.
shall be
Yeah.
elected, blah, 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 that's fine.
That's fine,
The
it's
chairman
here.
It's
or
over
vice
here.
chairman shall preside
It's
at all
at the end of
meetings.
The chairman
That's in, it used to be or and now it's and.
Or,
So we're going to make, we'll have to, did you already make the motion, Ann,
So-
on this one here?
We're gonna have to make a motion to make some amendments, is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
You
we
can
can't-
amend it
we
and
can't
then
do anything
make a
here.
motion to amend it.
Sure we can, we
Yeah,
can
sure
amend
you
it
can.
tonight,
Right now.
before we
We can
vote
amend
on
With
it.
the committee,
We already got a
yeah,
motion
yeah.
on it, now we're gonna amend the motion.
Well-
Vote on the amendment.
You just wanna change one word.
If it's not gonna be a substantial change, because the legal have looked over all the
Right.
legalese on it.
And even they
These
missed,
are only, almost like typo type change.
you absolutely can.
And we can make the motion tonight to amend it.
My understanding was that we shouldn't be doing that at this meeting.
Well, you had 4 pages of change, or 4 different articles you wanted to change. I said that, we would have to talk. But if you
Different
guys want to
articles?
vote on this tonight, and you want to change or, then you amend your motion to
Absolutely.
accept it as written with that change. And I'm sure the selectmen aren't going to argue with you because we agree with you. And then we'll just change it, and that'll be the actual article that will go before on the floor.
Is that the only change you're concerned with, Paul? That makes
Well,
sense,
it's
and we
the
can
only
amend that
one
tonight.
that has what I'll call legal ramifications.
Well, that's-
The rest of it's, okay, let's, might as well talk about all of them. Yes,
Where it says under F about that if you go down to the next one, G, what does that say?
well, it's in conflict with what F, with what F says now.
Yeah,
No.
right,
We don't want it to be in conflict with
right,
itself.
but that's what I'm saying.
Just,
My guess is that, I'd say that the intent was to be or.
Oh, I absolutely know the intent,
All right,
because
so it's pretty clear. We
that's,
can-
I
we
know
can
where it
amend
came
it.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just make a small.
Of course, I don't
change.
necessarily know what the selectmen's intent was, other than the fact that
Everyone came
that I
with
think
it.
Ted agreed with that change. Okay, so, going back up to where it says Part 1, my impression is that the paragraph above Part 1 and the paragraph below Part 1 is somewhat redundant to each other, and I wasn't sure if they intended it to kind of, 2 paragraphs to largely say the same thing. If the intent was to say that, then I'm fine, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I'm fine with redundancy. I don't wanna, if the lawyers already looked it over. I mean,
Leave it
whatever.
alone.
The Bureau of Redundancy Bureau?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're voting, approve it, leave it alone.
a lot of those already.
Okay, next one would be item 1E. Originally, as written, the last sentence talked about is written to require the advice, actually consent, in fact, originally, but now, then it got turned to advice, but now it says recommendation. And the key about this one word is that our future warrant articles will have to say this. They will have to use the word recommendation as opposed to the word advice as they traditionally have. And I'm simply asking, while we're at the no more than $5 stage, do we want the word recommendation or do we want the word advice as we
The word
traditionally have had?
recommendation has
Always been there, yes.
It's always
The word
been- like
recommendation?
Recommendation
Yes.
has always been
Yeah.
there.
Okay, and I'm not
I
talking,
can change the other
I'm not
article that
talking-
he's referring to,
I'm not talking about,
say with the recommendation of the Warrant Finance Committee.
yeah, I'm not talking about what we're discussing here about warrant school committee recommends, warrant finance committee
No,
recommends.
it's the articles like if we want to spend $15,000 to buy a piece of equipment.
Right.
The article is on the floor.
Right.
To allow the selectmen to purchase this or spend this 15,000 with the advice and consent, that's the word. But we just change it to recommendation.
Recommendation.
We would have to use the word recommendation. And all I'm saying is that we're tying ourselves to this word moving forward on those warrant
Right.
articles. And is that good or not?
Yeah.
I think
fine.
If it's
That's
fine,
fine.
we're good.
Get the
Okay.
dictionary, it all says the same thing.
And then 2A, the committee shall be formed of 6 standing members plus 2 alternative members. I was questioning whether that should be alternate members as it originally had been, because everything else talks about alternate members. If we leave it alternative, it's not going to change the meaning of anything. I think we all know what we're talking about, but it wasn't
typo.
It's a
quite
typo. The
what it
next
should
one
be.
below says alternate.
I know, they all say
They all
alternate,
say
other
So
than
that
that.
we probably
That
should
would just
change
be a
that one.
typo.
Yeah, they're typos,
Typo.
typo.
Alternate?
Yeah.
Alternate.
The alternative could be worse.
It could. It could always be worse.
Yeah, so we'll call them alternate.
Okay, and this one is or. Okay, and then my final quibbling point, excuse me, my penultimate quibbling point, 2H. There's a sentence that was added that says, and this is talking about the, a member of the Board of Selectmen being a liaison to the Warrant Finance Committee. It says, the last sentence was added, it says, said liaison shall not be a voting member of the committee. Up to now, I was pretty clear that the liaison wasn't a member of the committee at all. But now that that sentence there, I'm thinking, okay, is the liaison a non-voting member of the committee? So my suggestion is to strike the word voting and make it clear that they're not a voting or a non-voting member of the committee.
How does it read right now?
Well, I think the
But they are-
original article is that's
They
in
are.
existence now says the selectmen shall be non-voting members.
Well, right now, we have a very interesting situation.
You got the original?
I do have the
Yeah.
original, somewhere in this mishmash.
Yeah, we don't want to vote on any committees. We're liaisons to every committee, but we don't want to be voting on any committees.
You're liaisons, but that doesn't mean you're a member of the committee.
No, we don't want to be
right?
members of the committees.
Just as the
Right.
Warrant Finance Committee has liaisons to the school committee,
Yeah,
to the
exactly.
fire
I
department,
get
the
it.
selectmen,
Somewhere.
have liaisons.
Basically,
to
what
their
it,
committee.
one of the inconsistencies in the current ordinance is that it, on one hand, it says that the selectmen, actually, in this case, it's talking about all the selectmen, not just one member, are members, it says that they're not a member of the committee, but then in another place, it implies that they are members of the committee.
Right.
So there's an inconsistency there that we're trying to iron out. Get on, Paul.
But part of the reason why you added not be a voting member was
So-
because the intention was that the Warrant and Finance Committee gives advice to the Board of Selectmen,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, and you
that
can't give
if
advice
the
to yourself,
selectmen
essentially.
were members, they wouldn't be giving advice to themselves.
Right. That was certainly a key reason why it was decided to pull that out. So right now, I mean, there's a new sentence in there. The fact that they're not going to be a voting member of the committee leaves hanging that they're going to be a non-voting member of the committee. So my proposal is we strike the word voting. Said liaison shall not be a member of the committee. And it very clearly states what this says, plus also adds in the fact that they're not a non-voting member either.
Why don't you just take that last sentence right out completely? Because a selectman is gonna be assigned to the board to regularly attend meetings and to be a liaison with a committee, just as your committee has
Right.
members that come to the school board meetings and to the fire department
Right.
meetings and other.
And that doesn't make us a school board member,
So
right?
if you just
I
take
kinda
that
like
last
having the
sentence-
sentence in there,
Well,
specifying that they're not a voting
originally when it
member.
went to the selectmen, that sentence was not there. And I have no problem with it being there, except that it's unclear.
We didn't put it in, the attorney.
And I kind of agree with it. I
The
think,
attorney added that?
I think it should be stated that they are not
Here.
a voting member of the committee.
Well, but are they a non-voting member?
They're an ad hoc member.
Does it matter?
They're not a member, yeah.
You know,
Not
It's not
voting
gonna
member and a
change
non-voting
the-
member, that's same.
The way that the boards operate.
I think it's pretty important.
Well, again, I pointed out this is somewhat middling, but,
Yeah.
I think.
we've got an ordinance that hasn't had a recommendation yet and isn't on town floor yet, so when better time to make it ideal?
But-
Is this ideal, I guess is my question to you.
Well, I think, I'm comfortable with, changing "and" to "or," an
Yep.
alternative to alternate, but I'd rather personally, to change a whole sentence that was added in by an attorney, and I'd rather leave that in there, stating that they are not a voting member of the committee. I don't think that hurts anything, I just think it empowers the ordinance, clarity here.
Yeah,
That argument will
I'm not
come
gonna
up.
challenge an attorney on it, no.
I would agree with that. If it was added in by the attorney, then I think it should stand.
Okay. And the final middling point is a period in 4A, at the end of that sentence. Yep.
What is it, Paul?
In 4A, just a period at the end of the
The
sentence.
sentence never ended. Well, then, because it
A
went.
hanging shad.
I'm surprised if the attorney put that section H in, because this is a warrant and finance committee ordinance.
Section H.
And I
Well,
can't see why a selectman is ordered to do this through the.
No.
ordinance,
They
you know what I
didn't,
mean?
they didn't put the whole section in. They just put the last sentence of section H in.
Yeah, but I don't know why that selectman part is even included if, because this says shall be assigned.
Right. And there's also liaisons that shall be assigned by the committee to other groups in town.
That's a little surprising that the attorney would put that in, I think.
They did not put it in.
Well, maybe the first
Well,
part
that-
was
that-
put in by,
That's what,
No, they put the last sentence in.
well, I think the last sentence should be in there with this whole, with H, with the whole thing.
Okay, so what we have from what I'm getting the gist of here is that we have 3 changes that we're gonna propose once we get to the point where we can do that. On 2A, alternative will be alternate. 2F, the and will be or, and then the period. Now, moving to a point of order, I suppose, we are here as an advisory board, we are not the town body. Have we any power whatsoever, and I don't think we do, to make the proposed changes?
We're just doing corrections, and Lorraine's
That's
the one that's
absolutely,
writing up
as
the
long
warrant
as we
articles.
do it-
She's already made them on her, we haven't signed it yet.
You
So she's just doing corrections that should be done, and when she retypes it for us to sign it next week, it'll have those corrections in it, because we're not changing,
I have a
not
question.
changing the body of the ordinance.
The
Okay.
question I have is, the Warrant and Finance Committee is just that, for an advisory on warrant articles that include a dollar value. This has no
No.
dollar value.
Right.
So
It's an
why-
ordinance, it's not
It's
anyways.
dollar value is
Do they
not,
need to even put a recommendation on it?
it's not a dollar value thing, it's a non-official thing.
I understand that, but
Yeah,
I'm
we don't
saying is
even have
Warrant
a
and
place for
Finance
them.
Committee
Lorraine?
don't
Okay.
have.
We don't have a place for them to make a recommendation on here anyways.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is, and
Yeah.
Under the school
there is.
committee.
Yeah.
it's not a big deal to amend it, as
Well,
long
the
as we
school
do it
committee,
before the
but not on
vote.
that warrant
I
article.
think that if the board agrees, I have no problem in making these corrections.
Okay, well, and that would have to
They're not
include the Board of
changing the intent
Selectmen who
of the
are
ordinance.
not,
Right.
see, we're in quorum right now. You guys haven't officially approved it yet?
No.
Okay,
No, it's never gone
Okay.
to a meeting or
But
anything like
we're-
that.
Got it.
where
We
the-
can make our
right.
recommendation with the amended changes, and then it goes, they can do it with whatever they want with it. But we have to make the changes before we vote.
We're just putting it forward to you because that's one of the steps before we go to the town floor. So we don't sign this until a week from Thursday.
Now,
Okay.
if they make additional changes, then it would have to come back to us again.
That's right.
But if they go with our amended changes tonight, and they're happy with that, then it will
Okay.
move forward that way.
so we've put a bug in your ear regarding those 3 changes. We all concur about those changes. Do we need to officially vote on those changes?
Vote
Well,
on the
Andy made
amendments.
a motion,
Well,
and I would just
accept
say
it.
amend your motion.
Well, right now, we're in the main motion, so we have to,
You need an amendment on Andy's motion to
Right.
correct the 3 issues here. We first vote on the amendment. If the
Right.
amendment passes, then it moves forward back to the selectmen
Right.
that way. If they
Right.
decided to change it, anything else, then it has to come back to us
Back
again.
The warrant finance, right.
But
So I will.
Right, but-
I will withdraw my motion.
well, you can't because it's on the floor and we're discussing it. Unless, well, but we can certainly make, that's out of order, but we can amend the main motion on the floor. Yes, we can do
You
that.
can amend
Then I
your
will make a motion to amend the original motion to include the 3 corrections as discussed.
Okay.
Second.
that would be alternative to alternate in section A, number 2, section A.
2A, yep.
And that would be from and to or. In section F, the last sentence, the chairman or vice chairman, strike the and. And the last change would be section 4, adoption of the policies, a period at the end of the sentence.
Okay. Agreed.
Now we'll vote on the amendment, right?
I second
Yes.
You did?
the alter, the
amendment?
addition, yeah.
The amendment, okay. All in favor of the amendment to the motion? All in, and that was unanimous. So now we're back to the main motion to accept, actually, I think the main motion might have been to accept it as written.
It was.
Okay, so what I'm gonna suggest is that we vote down that motion and we'll entertain a new one to accept it as amended.
We just accepted the
Just said
amendment.
that.
We accepted the amendment to the main motion, not the main motion itself.
Right.
So we're back to the main motion, which is to accept it as written,
So we just voted
which
down.
we have not done. So I would suggest we vote it down to get ourselves out of this conundrum,
No, wait a minute.
and then have a new motion.
You can just vote to accept it as amended.
That's exactly what Andy
But
said.
that's not the motion on the floor. We have to dispense with the motion, which is to accept it as written. We haven't done that yet. We haven't, it's still on the floor.
We just voted on the amendment.
The amendment to the main motion, yes.
It
I think
passed.
Lorraine will write it right. She'll get it right.
So,
That's good, fun.
Once you've voted on the amendment, then can't you just vote on the original motion?
we're back to the
as
main motion,
amended?
we're back to the main motion as made, which is to do it as written. So
we just
shall
kill
we kill it, okay? All those in favor of the motion to approve as written,
The original motion.
the original motion, signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? Unanimously opposed. Okay, we're clear
Yeah.
for another motion. Okay, I will entertain a motion for Article 19, I believe it is.
I will make a motion to adopt the article as amended.
Second,
It has been moved and seconded to adopt Article 19. Let me just make sure I'm not messing that up. Article 19 as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, we move back to our agenda, and I think we are down to public questions and comments. Is there any from actually anyone? Questions, comments, additions, deletions?
Well, I'd just like to
Observations?
thank the school committee, once again, coming in under and working hard, bring a responsible budget to the people, and thank the selectmen for creating a good atmosphere to be part of this committee. You guys working together, it's been pretty good. So, just
And I
want to
think the
thank you.
school
folks.
committee in turn really has appreciated having the Warrant Finance Committee and selectmen sometimes too, present at so many of our meetings and workshops, so that you were understanding the budget as it was developed, as we were working on it, and understanding why we were putting forth what we were. So it was nice to have the Warrant Finance Committee members present as much as they were at those workshops.
Thank you. From my perspective, it's the only way to do it. And coming in at the 11th, it's a tough enough job without coming in at the 11th hour and rehashing things that have already been discussed, in great detail. Any other comments? Okay, our next meeting, we have no other business. Our next meeting is going, the Warrant and Finance Committee is going to have a workshop 2 days from now, Wednesday, March 16th, 6 PM, Acton Town Hall. Joint workshop with the Board of Selectmen for municipal government, CEO, treasurer, town clerk, tax collector. And we'll be discussing their budgets. So if you are interested in that type of thing, or if you have problems
What time
with
was
those
it, Bob?
articles, by the time they hit floor, now's the time to get involved. 6 PM
6
at the
p.m.
town hall.
And again, thank you to the board for getting us information way ahead of
Right.
time
Thank you,
on
Bump.
that.
Superintendent Adley, thank you.
You're welcome.
No dozing off there now. Long day.
Okay, are we ready to close this meeting?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, thank you.
Okay, this meeting is closed at 7, oh, excuse me, sorry. I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the meeting, to adjourn. All those in favor? We're done.
Wait a
We're
minute.
cooked.
Raise his hand.
So what?
3 to 1.
3 to 1.